This is going to be a long-term investigation. Could be a year, could be 2 years long.
It will be long, Eric, indeed. But first, let's meet today's specialist. He received a basketball scholarship to attend Winston-Salem State University. Go Rams. He's the co-host of ESPN's First Take. He's also the host of the very popular Stephen A. Smith radio show, but he specializes in being an NBA insider. Stephen A. Smith is here. And he was named Detroit's greatest guitar player of all time, also a member of the National Bowhunters Hall of Fame, and he's a New York Times best-selling author. But he specializes in riding a buffalo on stage. Rock legend Ted Nugent is here.
That's a buffalo between my legs. Nice call.
That is a very unique specialty, Ted. Our studio might combust with Stephen A. and Ted both here, but let's see what happens. Okay, so Ted, Eric is saying, it's divisive. This is the Republicans kowtowing to the whim of the Democratic Party. But for me, it really seems like an objective win-win because this guy, Mueller, everybody thinks he's great. He's above the law, and he might be best positioned to clear President Trump if indeed nothing was wrong.
Well, if I may give you an overview from Working Hard, Playing Hard America. We are aware of the corruption, the abuse of power, the criminality that runs amok in our government, and this kind of devious behavior by the Democrats is so out of control that
but right?
Yeah, but a rhino, yeah. He's got an R after his name, but good luck with that. We expect this. I do believe that since it's I wish I could use the Cluster Love song. But there's such divisiveness out there. We know it. It's inescapable at this time. I would love to see this run its full course because I believe in the president. I believe in what he stands for. That's why we voted for him. And I believe that what will come out of this spotlight will eventually help him. I think it'll clear him. And by the way, if it doesn't, as a real American, we the people guy, I want the facts to fall where they lay. I want the spotlight to get the truth out. And if the truth hurts somebody, so be it.
Amen. Okay, so Stephen A., the president and many people, Eric here, Ted also saying it's divisive to have this special counsel. What is divisive about it? Can you help me see that?
Well, first of all, obviously, it's not that it's not divisive. It's that I'm shocked that everybody's acting like this is something new. You have a Democrat in office, Republicans are going to come after you. You have a Republican in office, Democrats are going to come after you. Everybody is looking to ensure their power structure, and that's what we're talking about here. Eric, you alluded to how the Republicans are caving. I don't see you giving enough accountability to Donald Trump. Perhaps.
Really?
Let me explain. No. I'm just talking about what you just said. Right. I'm not only talking about what you just alluded to. I'm saying if you are the president of the United States of America, you are 70 years of age, and you are tweeting and literally competing with 15 and 17-year-olds. That is a problem. A lot of times, I'm not even thinking about the substantive of the arguments because you guys would know that a hell of a lot better than me.
That's the only should be, Stephen. Can I just clarify something? You just said they shouldn't worry about it. This is only the second time in history that this has happened.
Okay.
Right? Second time they've appointed a special counsel.
No, I wasn't talking about that. I was saying to you when you say the Democrats, they're coming after them and the Republicans are caving, et cetera, et cetera.
Of course
I'm
they
saying
are.
to you,
what
culpability do you hand
towards
a president?
We have 5 separate
but every time he tweets, he gives added fuel for them to come after him.
I'll tell you what you should worry about as a Democrat or on the left. You should worry about Robert Mueller is a capable investigator. And guess what can happen in an investigation?
I agree.
They can find stuff about Obama and Hillary and everyone else.
But you still haven't answered my question with all due respect. I asked you, when this man goes out and tweets, and he literally adds fuel to the fire because he gives them material to nitpick and distract or what have you.
He's talking about the mechanism.
I'm talking about the mechanism.
Yeah, Eric's talking about the mechanism.
I'm just 100 million people get spoken to.
Did you just ask that question with a straight face? What is wrong with Trip?
I'm in favor of Twitter.
Let me finish my question.
I hope he does tweet.
I want to be clear. You just asked the question, what's wrong with Twitter while mentioning Donald Trump's name in the same sentence?
Yes,
you don't have a problem with that?
Absolutely.
He misspelled a word. He misspelled a word in one of these very, very important tweets.
Hold on 1 second. I've advised President Trump. I know President Trump for 15 years.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? Keep tweeting. You hit 100 million
terrible
people.
advice.
And you know what you do?
Horrible advice.
You go around the fake news because 90% of the news media can't stand
But he wound up going around his own statement. The own statement that came out in the wake of the announcement of the special counsel was saying that this was, we're going to be clear. I'm completely confident. And then he goes out and tweets things that kind of counter that attitude when he didn't even spell a word right.
Well, if I may,
I'm sorry, that matters.
For a misspelled word.
Yes, if you are addressing something this serious,
I want to go back to what you said.
I said the statement was good. I'm not saying everything he did was bad. I thought the way he approached it, the statement was good.
Misspelled word.
Hey, Stephen, he's not competing with 15-year-olds. He's circumventing a fake news networks that will not give him any honest representation. So he's using social media, whether you like it or not. He's getting the word, his word, his truth is getting out there in spite of the media that hates him.
I applaud that beautiful soliloquy you just gave me. What does that have to do with him going after Stephen Colbert? What does that have to do with him sitting there
responding to them going after him?
Exactly. You're a grown man and you're the president of the United States. And oh, by the way, Eric, let me get back to you because I like how you so smoothly threw out the fact that you know him, you're friends with him, etc. Now, I don't know him like that, but I have communicated with him on several occasions because he loves sports. He's a former footballer in the USFL. By the way, he wanted to own the Buffalo Bills. I was on the phone with him when he talked. I never had a problem with him until he campaigned and he conducted himself the way that he conducted himself. So what I'm saying to you is this. If you're going to be the leader of the free world, I'm not getting into his politics per se because I'm certainly not as qualified as a lot of aficionados out there. But you have to conduct yourself like a statesman because when you don't do that, you give ammunition to those who are going to come after you.
Especially when you've been elected by saying, I'm going to be different. I'm not going to be a politician. I'm going to drain the damn swamp when I get there. And that's exactly what he's doing.
He's crushing the status quo and he's using every
You know what, Ted? I don't think anybody's really upset about the crushing of the status quo or the disruptor mentality and mechanisms that this president is utilizing. I think many people, even those that didn't vote for him, like that part about him. But to Stephen A's point, Eric, let me say this. What you tweet does matter, and I think it's not necessarily always a bad thing to use Twitter. I think it can be a great tool to go around a combative media, but sometimes you have to live and die by the content of your tweet. So if something is good and positive and it can bolster your message and they're not talking about it.
What do you say that's wrong?
Well, he said a lot of stuff.
He said it's a witch hunt, and it is a witch hunt.
Not just, that's one thing, Eric.
You know, they don't need
and when you ask when you ask him why, he usually says, believe me, believe me. Come on, Eric. What I'm saying to you is this. You could sit up there and you can
when you got 90% of the media who is attacking you,
that's not fair. That's not fair.
Fake news to the fire that they're burning.
That's not fair.
It's good for him to go. His Twitter account, Twitter and Facebook.
Well, you're in the media.
I don't think anybody saw those tweets and felt better about
You're in the media.
I don't think anybody did.
You're in the media.
I am.
I'm in the media. What I'm saying to you is this: you have individuals who may be erroneous, who may be irresponsible.
Individuals.
Let me finish. You can't say the institution, and not only that, if you support that, what's going to happen is, did it ever occur to you that he could be using those maneuvers because he doesn't want to be held accountable when they actually have something to hold him accountable for? If you convince everybody that everybody is lying on you, then who are you accountable to?
He's right. He's right.
I'll
tell you what.
How do you know this? How do you know this?
I wrote a monologue exactly about this.
And I know it, and I can tell you how I know it.
Donald Trump's head, though. You can't see inside his head. You don't know if he's right or not.
You don't know.
Is the media unfair? Sure, but that doesn't mean that every single thing that they've written about him is false. It really doesn't mean that. I know that a lot of this comes from a bad place. I know that a lot of people wanted President Trump impeached when he started, regardless of what happened. And I know that it's bad to see a lot of them celebrating the fact that the FBI and the president are sort of at odds with each other, because that's in itself a national security threat, with foreign enemies see that. However, all of those things aside, be true or not true, there's no way to know that every single piece of information, and there's been a lot of it coming out, is false. Eric, I just wait and see.
I'm simply saying that the vast majority of the mainstream media is against Donald Trump, and they will highlight the things that they find negative about the man, and just everybody.
Eric, I'm going to agree with you there. I'm going to agree with you there that most mainstream media outlets do not like Donald Trump, and it shows in their coverage. But how about this? How about the same way he can use it to go back against Colbert? How about talking about how successful the China trade agreement was?
He does.
How about,
he absolutely tweets about that, but you know what? We don't pick it up. No one does.
Because it's singular, Eric. I do think at some point he has to be more, because one thing I will give the president, he knows how to control the narrative. Absolutely, he does. So how about managing the narrative?
Go on both POTUS and Real Donald Trump's Twitter account, and you'll see all the accomplishments.
But he could shift it in a lot stronger way if he wanted to.
I'd like to add this. I've watched Eric on television on several occasions. I happen to suspect that there are quite a few people that you've reported on that you haven't liked. It didn't stop you from being accurate. Why you keep pointing to the fact that he's disliked as substance to say, you know what, sir, everybody's wrong about Donald Trump. I'm not saying they haven't been wrong. I'm saying everybody, the entire media industry. So he needs to talk to Eric or a few of his friends in order for us to get accuracy.
He doesn't need to talk to me at all, Stephen. You know what he does?
Come on now.
He goes to Twitter and Facebook, and it's 100 million people with the press of a button.
And when when we come back, I'll let you know what we, the people, think of his tweets and what we think of his job ethic.
We, the people?
Yes,
You're
because
sure?
I hang with him every day. I hang with him at the feed mill and at the hardware store and at deer camp, and I know what they think.
Hey, all of us ain't living in the ivory tower. When we walk the streets here, I do it all the time, and I hear quite a different story.
There's a heartland out there, Stephen. I'm bringing you the goodwill of the heartland.
I talk to them too. I talk to them too.
Well,
all right now, gentlemen.
I talk to them too.
Leakers unleash a new wave of attacks against the Trump administration over Michael Flynn and Russia. And now one prominent Democrat says they've gone too far. We'll show you that. Plus, as he just said, Eric Bolling has an important message for everybody. It's time to wake up, America.
And the intention is to take down a president. This is about the political process of the United States of America being under attack by intelligence agencies and individuals in those agencies.
You're saying President Trump is under attack by the deep state intelligence community. Fair statement?
Well, I believe that.
All right. So, Eric, do you agree with this deep state intelligence community?
Well, someone's leaking. I mean, a lot of I think the whisper is that, yeah, that's where it's happening. So there'll be high-level communications going on between, in this case, Russia, Lavrov, Foreign Minister Lavrov with Russia and Donald Trump. And then there's a memo that goes out to the intelligence community about what they talked about. And then someone in the intel community leaks it to these publications. That's very, very dangerous. I'd also like to note that, first of all, a lot of people are tweeting me right now saying, are you and Stephen good in the break? We're really good. That's what I love about Stephen A. We have a respectful disagreement.
Absolutely.
I refereed and make sure you.
We appreciate that.
Can I just point one thing out that I think is being lost in this? Right. Is that all the attacks on Donald Trump and his ties to Russia, did we forget that Hillary Clinton actually brokered a deal to sell 20% of our uranium stockpiles to Russia, number one. And number two, her campaign manager, John Podesta, had stock in a Russian company who, when he was discovered, gave it to his daughter.
That's why, Eric, no, I don't think a lot of people forgot that. That's part of the reason she's not president now. She also had tremendous credibility issues. So I don't think anybody is saying that Hillary Clinton was a Girl Scout on these issues.
Except nobody's going after her for it.
Well, because she's not the president.
Forgot about it.
She's not
Doesn't matter. Crime is crime. You don't have to wait till you be the president to be prosecuted.
Well, that's also maybe why James Comey's fired.
It does matter when the president went on the record and said he was moving past that. That's number one. Number two, if I remember correctly, because I'm certainly not the aficionado that you are, Eric, but if I remember correctly, wasn't there like 9 different federal agencies that approved the uranium situation? Wasn't there about 9 different federal agencies?
Oh, wait, hold on. President Obama was the president at the time, and Secretary of State was Hillary Clinton. Okay. Well, they gave away 20% of our uranium that we desperately need.
I'm not saying that I approve of it. I'm not saying that I like it. What I'm saying is, are you telling me that there's something illegal about it?
No, I'm not saying it. And I'm also saying I'm pretty, well, I shouldn't say it now, but I'm pretty sure that whatever that Donald Trump is accused of doing pales in comparison to turning over 20% of our uranium.
So in other words, the fact that the culprit, a bigger issue may have occurred on this side, ignore the culpability of the president, whatever it is now.
About uranium. You can use uranium to spark up a power plant, or you can use uranium to further enrich it to a nuclear weapon.
Go ahead, Kat, you can take it.
Thank you. It's completely possible to have a problem with Hillary Clinton and the uranium deal with the Russians, which is something that I certainly had a problem with, and also have a problem with Donald Trump. I am somebody who never trusts somebody completely to tell the truth when they have a lot to gain by lying. There's no reason to just so blindly believe Donald Trump on every issue.
Show me one shred of evidence.
Okay.
There's no evidence against Trump, and there's documentation of Clinton's collusion or relationship with the Russians.
She's
already been proven
I understand
guilty,
the difference.
Trump's been proven nothing.
I understand the difference between there being. I don't think the media has been treating Trump fairly. I completely agree with you on that. A lot of the people in the media have not been. I completely agree with you on that. However, there have been a lot of things coming out, and even though they are anonymous, and you don't trust something anonymous as much as something with a name, the amount of them, you have to take a look at it, and there is just. It's just a fact that you have no way of knowing that it's true.
What are they?
You have no way of knowing if it's true or not, Eric.
Are you saying that Donald Trump did that was dangerous?
Nobody is saying that. What people are saying is that this investigation, because the investigation is not concluded yet, Eric. But I want to go back to leakers, because that's what this segment
was
supposed to be about.
The word investigation does matter, Eric.
Forever.
Okay,
it matters.
Forever.
Let me get your take on this, Stephen A. Leakers. This is a big problem. It's a problem under the Trump administration.
Yes.
And if we go back in time, it was a huge problem. problem under the Obama administration.
Yes, it was.
Obama went to war on this issue of leakers and pretty unsuccessful. He actually prosecuted more people under the Espionage Act than any other president prior to, and it seemed to have almost backfired. So is there something that Donald Trump can do on this issue to get a better result?
It's hard to say, and here's why, because I think he's his own worst enemy in that regard. First of all, even though it's via Twitter in most situations, one could easily accuse the president of having diarrhea of the mouth, figuratively speaking. This need to constantly speak to defend yourself over the most pettiest things imaginable. If anybody could be perceived as being accused of leaking, it would be him, because he can't see.
Where do these petty
on one hand,
Doesn't that
on
matter?
one hand, you're calling it petty accusation, and on the other hand, you're saying we need a special prosecutor.
No. I didn't. First of all, I never said.
You're talking more about, like,
Don't
the
put words
hand
in my mouth.
stuff,
That's
right? Like
exactly.
the
That's what I'm
hand
talking about.
stuff. Yeah.
I never once said that that's what's needed. I don't have a problem with it, because at the end of the day, let's get beyond it and get to the bigger issues that really resonate within this country. You also might have a situation where, again, you and people, the critics of him, bring this up. This ain't me. I'm just echoing what they say. You have people that get upset because he's never really opened his book. Taxes, whether it's himself directly, whether it's his companies and the business that he's done, where the ties connect, not just with you in Moscow or someplace else, but people doing business over here in concert with you. You have people who think about those things, and that may be their agenda in terms of getting to the bottom of stuff as it pertains to him. And if he would be quiet, maybe they wouldn't have as much ammunition. Just a thought, Eric.
Well,
just
listen,
a thought.
He's wildly popular with his base, so Stephen, I think
his
he's
base.
doing something right with.
I would
with
never
base.
disagree that
With
he's
his
wildly
base.
popular with his base.
With
I would
his
never
base.
disagree with
Full
that.
agreement.
With
That's
his
the truest
base.
thing that's ever been said.
Hold
Okay.
on.
His
You-
base
you-
are the best people in the world.
You know his base.
I know his
Is he
base. I
popular
work
with
with
his
his
base?
base. Yeah.
Well, some of them may be the best people.
His base is
not
supporting
all.
a retaliatory strike by guys who are abused by the industry, by the media and academia and government prior.
I have no problem
I
with his
salute
base.
that.
My mother's in his base.
All
She's a
right.
good
Well,
one.
okay. Next up, we have a new segment on the Fox News Specialist featuring our own Eric Bolling. Wake up, America.
I'm worried.
Don't go away.
I'm worried.
Other in the Washington Post newsroom, a smoking gun. We've got Trump, but the party was premature, much like Hillary's election night party. Soon it was noted that, A, the info in question that ISIS was attempting to use laptops as an explosive device on airplanes was common knowledge, so the bombshell was a dud. Fake news. The very next day, Tuesday, the New York Times delivered their bombshell that recently axed FBI Director James Comey had a smoking gun note he wrote after a dinner with President Trump months ago, and that Trump asked Comey to stop an FBI investigation. Again, high fives in the Times newsroom, parties ensued, until it was also noted that Comey had been sitting on that note for months. Pretty interesting, right? Also, take note of what I dug up today. Unfortunately for Mr. Comey, in sworn testimony on May 3rd, the director was asked if he had been asked to stop any investigation on the Russian story. And here's what he said, and I'm quoting. It would be a big deal to tell the FBI to stop doing something that, without an appropriate purpose, I'm talking about a situation where we were told to stop something for a political reason. That would be a very big deal. And here's the operative line, guys. Emphasis mine. It's not happened in my experience. Another bombshell fizzling out. Fake news. A colleague of mine who passed away today once told me, be fast, Bolling, but more importantly, be right. The Washington Post and the New York Times, you should be ashamed of your reporting. As for our faithful Fox audience, our motto is, we report, you decide, and that's what we do. It means we report the facts and respectfully encourage you, the viewer, to decide what it means to you. Throw it over to Stephen A. Smith. So here it is. Comey, in sworn testimony to the Senate, says, never happened. No one ever asked me to look the other way on any investigation.
Okay.
I think he just blew his own story out of the water.
He may have blown his own story out of the water, and I can definitely relate to that. I can understand exactly where you're coming from, and I don't blame you for being critical of individuals or institutions who have made that mistake. That's fair enough. I've been a reporter for over 2 decades. I understand it's more important to be right than to be first, even though I pride myself in being most times. Here's the reality of the situation, however. No matter what entity you're working for, an individual is an individual. Everybody can't host this show. You are. You know, everybody's not hosting it. You can't look at one person who makes a mistake and denigrate the entire institution. And that is what your president has engaged in. And let me tell you why that's
Your
dangerous.
president too,
because,
my man. Your president too.
No, I apologize for that because I'm not one of those that say that. No,
Okay.
he is my president as well. I didn't vote for him, but he's my president, and that's the responsible thing to do. But it's important to point out that when you're calling out somebody, if he gets away with that, then all of a sudden, what about when a successor comes along and the kind of license that you give him to circumvent the media because everybody's fake news can be attached to the next administration? Be careful about that.
But Ted, here we're
Be
talking
careful
about the
about that.
Washington Post breaking the news, high-fiving, and then the paper of record, New York Times, also went to record with this, and guess what happened? James Comey swore it never happened.
I don't think Stephen is getting the big picture. It's not just individuals. It's a whole army of media individuals that are out for blood. They're so left, they're so in the Democrat tank that they are going to attack the president and anything Republican or anything right side in such a consistent fashion that it is an overwhelming tsunami of fake news, attack mode, with no basis. So it's not just individuals in this day and age. It's an overall movement. And the movement of the media and academia and the left and the Democrats overall is just Saul Alinsky berserk. So if you can find some
You go there,
individuals
you
who are
want
not
this
guilty
Saul
of that,
Alinsky, you're
be
going
sure
there.
you give me a call on that.
Let me bring Ebony in. Ebony, so I found, you know where I found this comment? I went through pages and pages on the Washington Post website who showed Comey testifying it never happened.
So I might surprise you in this moment, Eric. Completely agree with you. I'm somebody that has been very critical of what I call the casualties of the 2016 election cycle. FBI, DOJ, State Department, media, mainstream media has been a huge casualty of this election cycle. So much so, don't take my word for it, take theirs. The New York Times came out post-election and they apologized to their viewership, to their readership, and they said, we're going to do better. So when you do this, Eric, when they come out and they say things like this and they have to walk it back immediately after because it was a premature celebration around what felt like a conquest in that moment, it's a problem. Now, the difference is I don't feel like, yay, the mainstream media is dead, we've triumphed. I feel sad for America. Because a lot of people, Eric, they're not going to do this legwork and they don't have time to do it. That's our job as journalists and reporters and working in news media. That's what we do for a living. Typical American, they're working hard. They don't have time to look this stuff up. So they need a reliable news source. And when the mainstream media fails them like this, it's a problem.
And you're right. Every time the media reports something that's proven wrong, Mom and Pop America go, geez, thanks for nothing.
You know what
Who do I
they should
turn
do,
to
Kat?
now?
They should say, I'm going to start watching The Specialist instead of
They
Radio.
start watching the special.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of times people misunderstand my viewpoint on all of this, right? I completely agree with you that the way that they've covered Trump is unfairly. I think that it's disingenuous to cover in the way that they're waking up every morning hoping that there's some leak, waking up every morning hoping that he does something horrible.
it's so
they
apparent.
can high-five each other. And it is apparent because they, like I said earlier in the show, they wanted to impeach him before he even had a minute as president. However, that doesn't mean that you can say that you know for a fact that everything that they report is always false.
And I don't think anybody
that
does.
you
And
can't
if they
say
come
that.
up with
Well,
something honest
a
that
lot
we
of
can rely on, Stephen and
all-
Kat, we will be the first
But
to
it's
go
something I
thank
will
you.
In all fairness, a lot of people do that. They say, I know this is a lie about Trump because the media is unfair. The logic doesn't flow there. That's a logical fallacy. It's all I'm
Can I
saying.
ask my counsel here something? So how credible of a witness, if he's called, and he will be, James Comey, is he, if he went ahead and swore under oath that no one had ever asked him to look the other way or walk back an investigation, and yet he's saying he has a note that says Trump asked him to do it.
So this right here, what we call to impeach his credibility as a lawyer. But go
I'm
ahead,
not
Stephen A.
I'm not saying that you're wrong about anything. What I'm saying is you could say the same. Clinton was under attack. George W. Bush were under attack. You're the president.
Not
Nixon,
like
Nixon,
this.
Not
Not
like
like
this.
that. Not even
comes
close.
with it.
Nixon,
What is
I would
wrong?
say
Come
Nixon
on,
was
y'all.
under really bad
It comes
attack.
with it. We understand that.
All right, we
Not
gotta
like
go.
this.
Oh, my
Gotta go.
goodness. Let me get the Kleenex.
President Donald Trump following through on one of his biggest campaign promises, a major crackdown on illegal immigration. New details and a big spike in arrests just ahead.
Come together with your hands, save me. I'm together.
Welcome back to the Fox News Specialist. Our specialists today are Stephen A. Smith, the co-host of ESPN's First Take, and rock legend Ted Nugent. Somehow, our universe hasn't quite exploded yet, so we're going to keep it going while we can. President Trump has vowed to crack down on illegal immigration, and that was no joke. According to new data from ICE, there was a 38% spike in immigration arrests during President Trump's first 100 days compared to the same period last year. Eric, this is what Ted, yes, round of applause. I don't think anybody at the table is upset to hear this type of good news around law enforcement and this important issue that he campaigned on, of course, Eric, cracking down on illegal immigration.
Well, that's good news. I'm glad to hear that no one at the table. Well, I'm not sure about the guy.
No.
I'm not sure.
No.
Well, that's good. No, well, that's good then. I think we're making progress because there are a lot of times I'd be sitting here and saying, hey, I think we should crack down on illegal immigration.